Hi guys, today I want to talk a little bit about Crypt Strike, the new monk physical weapon that's coming with the Winter Update 2025. And yeah, it's quite an interesting one. There is one modifier that we have in the proficiency 7 right here at the end. It's a 30% physical pierce. So for those of you who don't know how physical pierce works, it increases the weakness of a monster to an element by, well, that amount if it's under 100, and by half that amount if it's over 100. So if you have a monster that's 70% strong to like physical, with 30% physical pierce, it becomes 100, so like neutral. And if he's got 100 or any more than 100, then it's 15, right? So it would become 115. If he had 120, it would be 135 weakness to physical. So that's how it works. So this is uh, in worst case scenario, using a physical weapon, this is a 15% damage increase in a single node across the board for the whole weapon. Very, very strong, but, you know, I will talk about whether that's OP or not in a minute. In addition to this, we also have 3 armor penetration nodes here that add altogether to 65% armor penetration, which means you get to ignore 65% of the enemy's armor, which if the enemy has a lot of armor is amazing. If it doesn't have so much armor, not so good, doesn't really matter all that much. So those are the key nodes of this weapon. And first of all, tips of, the test server has wrapped up. They did say maybe we'll tweak some numbers before the server release. I'm assuming they're not going to. I'm assuming this is how it's going to stay. Of course, if it changes, then this video is moot and we'll have to redo it. But I'm assuming this power stays as is. And basically what this means for this weapon is that this weapon is definitely the best in slot for bossing, because the main issue with bossing on the monk is that your basic attacks don't even hit. So this armor penetration and physical pierce are going to be very, very good for bossing. So as soon as you get this weapon, it's amazing for bossing. Another little consideration for this weapon is that this proficiency 7. So if you cross out this proficiency 7 and forget about it, right? There's no proficiency 7. Then this weapon is just okay. It's fine. It's not amazing. It's all right. It's a solid physical weapon. But it's this proficiency 7 that actually takes it to the next level and makes it very, very good physical weapon. So something to keep in mind is that you're not going to really enjoy this weapon very much for the first 6 levels. It's going to be fine, but you actually have to grind it for a couple of months of like solid hunting before you get this proficiency 7, and it becomes good. So something to consider. It is good when you unlock the proficiency 7, but until then it's kind of meh. So yeah, I don't love that. That's going to feel like ass for like 2 months, and then it's going to be really good. But yeah, and anyway, this physical pierce obviously is like, in a vacuum, ignoring everything else, this is the strongest single weapon proficiency in the whole game by a wide margin. Like, this is an incredibly powerful node. However, and this is what I alluded to at the start of the video, we're going to talk about whether this weapon is OP or not. And in my opinion, this weapon in Tibia, in the current setup with like physical damage and stuff, this weapon is not OP. This is basically just a good physical weapon on like the power level of like Sanguine Claws. Do people think Sanguine Claws are OP? I don't think so, right? It's just a good weapon. It's a good all-around weapon. People like using it. It's strong. That's great, but it's not like OP. The thing is that because physical damage itself is problematic in Tibia due to the armor formula, due to the fact that monsters cannot have much physical weakness, because otherwise paladins run away at that respawn and they destroy it. So, physical damage generally is capped at like 100, 110% for most monsters, usually even a little bit lower. Sometimes it's like 90 and 80. Well, this weapon solves that by having this physical pierce, that it makes everything weak to physical, basically. Plus, it gives you armor penetration to get rid of the armor. So it solves the 2 issues that physical damage has in the game. It solves the armor, or at least partially, like 65%. And it solves the fact that most monsters are not weak to physical. Most monsters are neutral or strong to physical due to paladins. So these things combined actually make this a viable, good physical weapon. And the thing is, in a vacuum, if this wasn't a physical weapon, if this was an earth weapon with earth pierce, this would be like the most broken weapon ever. But because it's a physical weapon, even though it has these really strong proficiencies, because physical damage as a whole is not so good, that's why it's just a good weapon, right? It's like a very underpowered element with a very overpowered weapon, makes for like a balanced, strong physical weapon. So I I like it. I think it's great. I don't think they should be changing any of these numbers. It may look crazy that it's 30% physical pierce, but because of how weak physical damage is, that's what this weapon needs to actually be usable and viable. So that's good. I think the other vocation weapons, the crypt ones, are a little bit too weak, but that's a separate issue. I think this one is fine. I would not like to see this changed. I mean, if this was like nerfed to like, I don't know, 25, it would probably still be okay. 20, maybe still okay. Anything less than 20, and this weapon is like unusable again, right? Just because of how weak physical damage as a whole is. So I hope they keep it. That means it's a nice physical weapon. The monk does need a strong neutral weapon when monsters are strong to earth and energy, and this would be it. That's perfect. I'm really happy with the power level of this weapon, and I don't think it's like too broken because of how weak physical damage is. So that's, with that out of the way, talked about Crypt Strike a little bit. Now I just wanted to give you a list of spawns where this weapon would be used once you unlock proficiency number 7. So once you've got proficiency 7, I've prepared a little list of places where you will use it. So first of all, we will look at places where you would already use physical damage back in the day. But, because there was no good physical weapons, those respawns weren't really hunted very much by monks. But now those respawns become pretty good. So, for example, you've got Feru DTs, right? You've got the Vex Claws and Health Layers there and stuff as well. So that becomes pretty good. You've got Ingol Surface, previously absolute hell to hunt on a monk. Now it's kind of huntable. It's still not great. It's all right. It's much better. You can actually do a bestiary there. Fairway becomes a lot better as well. Not sure if it's going to be like amazing, but it's going to be pretty good. Ormond Catacombs becomes pretty good. Roshamel West becomes really good. I tested this on the test server, and this actually becomes our like second or third best respawn in the game with this weapon, which is really good. We're still not as good as Paladins, of course, mind you, but it is actually a huntable place now. Dark Torturer's Inquisition, maybe it's not really a very popular spot because the monk doesn't have enough to keep the monsters in place, like the EK. Fatal Hold for one monster is not quite enough, but whatever, if you wanted to hunt there, you would be using this weapon there. And Kanye Sylvans and Root Things, you would also be using this weapon at. Anyway, again, not the greatest respawns, but yeah, it would be used here. Now, what's interesting is looking at spawns where today we use energy or earth, right? But once you have 30% physical pierce, that's enough to bring those respawns to be better for physical. And here is the full list, and it's actually quite a lot of respawns when you really look at the numbers. Some of these maybe will turn out that it's not better because, I'm just looking at resistances, but something to keep in mind as well is that to make this new monk physical weapon viable, you're basically giving up the whole proficiency tree, right? You're giving up proficiency tree for armor penetration and physical pierce to make sure it's even usable, so you don't have all the other benefits. Stuff like Sanguine Claws has like the crit chance, has like the extra healing, has a sweeping takedown base damage that you benefit from, whereas you don't get any of this really with this new physical weapon because you give up the proficiency to make it a viable physical weapon. So, a couple of these respawns maybe will turn out that, even though it's slightly better for physical, actually Earth will be a little bit better because, for example, I don't know, Summer Court, Winter Court, physical probably is better with the proficiency 7, but maybe we still use Earth here just because you do have the extra perks of the Earth weapon, right? I'm not sure. Either way, I think this is the list of places where physical may be best after the update with a proficiency 7 Crypt Strike. And it's Truosaurus. Well, I'm not going to read the whole list. You can see that there's a lot of stuff in here that becomes best. A lot of like team hunting, late game respawns as well. Freakish Lost Souls, like if you want to go do Freakish Lost Soul Bestiary at the moment, they're basically unkillable with either Earth or Energy. So with physical, once you increase the resistance by 30% physical, those actually maybe kind of become huntable. But yeah, lots of things that suddenly become really good with the physical weapon once you have this 30% physical pierce. Anyway, so I wanted to give a little bit intro, my thoughts on this new weapon and why it's not actually like OP and needs to be nerfed, in my opinion. I think it's a very strong weapon for a very weak element, which makes for a nice overall strong physical weapon, and we're overdue for strong physical weapons, so I like the power level of it. I hope that they maybe instead buff the other crypt weapons for the other vocations, so they're also good, but that's yet to see. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Looking forward to the update, and yeah, see you in the next one. Bye bye.